Now, participants at the ongoing Africa Financial Industry Summit in Lome, Togo, stressed the importance of the financial industry to the development of the various economies of the African continent. Arise News caught up with a number of them, including the CEO of the Jean Afrique Media Group, organizers of the summit, along with the International Finance Corporation. Let's take a look.
I think the importance is in two critical areas. First of all, we have the short-term issues where we have an economic situation which is quite tense with inflation and interest rates at the highest level. So we definitely need to get Africa's financial industry together to collectively think on how we're going to answer to that very hard environment in terms of financing, and what are going to be the consequences for our companies, businesses, and how we're going to fight this. This is the short-term reason for this forum. The long-term reason for the forum, the reason we created this forum, is that we think the financial industry is going to be critical in the future for Africa's to develop itself, for companies to be able to get to the scale we need for them to compete continentally and at the international level. So creating a formidable Africa of financial services is going to be key in the future. How can we create regulation for groups such as Zenith, UBA, Access Bank to grow in scale and to be able to replace the international companies that have left and possibly in the midterm compete at an international level? These are the type of subjects that we're talking about during the forum. We're doing this in the insurance industry, and this discussion has to take place between private sector and regulators. And so that's why you have seen this morning we had the finance minister of Nigeria. Tomorrow we will have the central bank governors of Angola, of Nigeria. So all of these key people involved in regulation are going to be key to engage in discussion with our private sector.
It's really an important summit for the financial industry in Africa, and it is timely because the global financial architecture is facing a lot of problems as with the hike in the cost of borrowing and really hurting Africa. So it is time to assess what African financial institutions can do to finance African investments. And we see that the barometer on Africa and financial industries is quite good. So what we're discussing, can they do more to support African economies?
I think the great thing about the summit, it brings together Africans from several countries that are facing similar issues. So it helps us unpack them. I mean, we talked about overcoming the Africa risk premium this morning, but also in a high inflation environment, high interest rate environment, in an environment where there's a global funding squeeze, so governments are struggling to raise funding. And I think these forums enable us to discuss these issues, unpack them, and see if we can find solutions that are common to all of us in the region.
Have discussions like these at AFIS because we can share the developments in the market and see how we can also support each other, because in these days you can't do anything alone anymore. So we as FMO, the Dutch Development Bank, we support many African banks, from the biggest like EcoBank to smaller banks across the continent, and we spur development. It's economic development, but also environmental and social development. So we look at SDGs 10 and 13, reducing inequalities and climate change, because we think together we can fight climate change and we can fight inequalities. And that's what we do here.